بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Beloved brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala barakatuh. We begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we send salutations on our beloved Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Beloved brothers and sisters, Jazakallah khairan for making the time to join us. I am Shaykh Mukhtar Rabban from Masjidut Taqwa, and in the next few moments, inshallah, I will be welcoming Shaykh Muhammad West into the online studio. And as a congregant of Masjidut Taqwa, if you are subscribed to our media, our social media pages, as well as maybe Musalli at the Masjid, then you would have seen the promotions that have been looking at events that will be occurring at the Masjid this coming weekend, inshallah. That, of course, would be the 4th and 5th of August. We will be having Shaykh Muhammad West from Cape Town joining us in the city, inshallah. And now a brief background to Shaykh Muhammad West. This is, very useful for those who will be attending the programs. Shaykh Muhammad West is a graduate of Jamia Islamiyya of Medina, the Islamic University of Medina, particularly from the faculty of Usul Da'wah, Da'wah Usuluddin, that is the correct name of his faculty. And he's also an accountant by profession. He's been involved in a number of projects and initiatives. He currently serves as the Imam of the Burhanul Islam Masjid in Cape Town, and he is also a teacher for Al-Furqan in Cape Town. He serves on the executive committee of the Muslim Judicial Council, and he's also an accountant by profession. And he has a very long CV, and I'm sure when we have him here in PE, we'll sit him down and he can take us through it over tea, inshallah. But on that note, I now welcome Shaykh Muhammad West to the virtual spaces of Masjidut Taqwa. Shaykh Muhammad West, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm good, alhamdulillah. And yourself?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Usually we are rushing from lunch, but I don't know, many are fasting today. So there hasn't been lunch today. Well, alhamdulillah. Sheikh, welcome to this very sort of, I would say, informal discussion as a precursor to your much anticipated visit to the city, inshallah. So Sheikh, you are going to be visiting, we use the formal name Gqeberha, but everyone knows us as PE. So you'll be visiting PE, inshallah, on the 4th and 5th of August, delivering a number of programs. There's quite a bit of excitement around these programs. And I thought, let's try and get the Sheikh online to chat us through these initiatives that will be taking place. Sheikh, are you excited to visit us? Let's start there.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. We're very excited to come to PE. And it's excited to see you, Sheikh. You didn't mention in the CV that my first place of residence in Medina was your floor until you kicked me out.
Sheikh,
it's time for you.
Yeah, we need to move past that, Sheikh. Yes, mashallah. Shaykh Muhammad West, yes, I think I was there for a year, and then Shaykh Muhammad West started in Medina. And he stayed in my room. It was very, very fond memories. I learned quite a bit from him, mashallah. But they say a good thing can't continue forever. And so, I had to muster up the courage to say, Shaykh Muhammad West, it's time to spread your wings and explore the Jamia, inshallah.
Yes. Alhamdulillah.
Yes, alhamdulillah, Sheikh. Very fond memories. We will reminisce more when you're in the city, inshallah. Sheikh, so what will be the main purpose of your visit to the city, if I could ask you that?
So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah, the reason why we are coming to PE, inshallah, is to deliver a number of lectures. But I think the most important one would be around the discussion of the LGBTQ issue, Islam's stance on the movement, and broadly speaking around sexuality and gender. and these obviously are very topical. It
Mhm.
influences, it impacts all of us. Doesn't matter, the household that you live in. Doesn't matter if you from a you in a Muslim school, you surrounded by Muslim friends.
Yeah.
It's pervasive, and it's
Yeah.
time. We have to offer guidance as mashayikh, as teachers, as educators, as parents. We need to have our narrative, our Islamic guidelines, our Islamic principles, inform our kids, and inshallah that's the purpose, that we can have a very open, mature, well, open becomes a very negative word. When I mean by open, I mean a very academic, diplomatic, and a conversation around a very controversial issue, so that we
Mm.
can get guidance. And ultimately, it's to align with the ethos and the morals of the Quran and with the Sharia, inshallah.
Inshallah. Some really interesting, terminology that you use there. You've touched on the point that this could be controversial, and so perhaps the context
Mm.
may be in smaller communities such as those that we find here in Nelson Mandela Bay. These issues haven't really been addressed, sort of publicly. So for many, I mean, that would be the context, that this might be the first sort of program within the Muslim community that they are able to access. So with that being mentioned, what will be the overarching position that you feel you'll be taking, with regards to these matters?
So, Alhamdulillah, the presentation is very structured, in that we go through a number of sections. We start off by giving a historical background to the movement, the LGBTQ movement. I mean, what do those letters even mean? You've heard the
Mm.
letters. Do you even understand what the letters mean? For example, the I in the LGBTQI movement, intersex. There's a lot of literature from a Sharia perspective. We call the khuntha. Every madhab talks about this. So we've got a lot of academic backing on this topic. So we do a bit of historical background. How did the movement progress? What are the objectives of it? Then we go into what is the Sharia stance, and we be very fair. I mean, we be very how would I say? We don't put our bias involved. We take let the Quran speak for itself. What does the Quran say on this issue? Whether you pro or anti, whether you're Muslim, non-Muslim, you should come to the same conclusion, because the Quran is very clear on this matter. So then once we know, okay, we live in a world which has this movement, we know what the Sharia perspective is, and I think the real crux of the course is, why does the Sharia say it? So we
Mm.
accept the morals and the rules, but are we sold on it? For some
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
issues within the Sharia, we know why alcohol is bad for us. We know gambling is bad, but we might feel, I know polygamy is allowed, but it's the good thing, and now it
Mm.
becomes sort of a moral issue.
Yeah.
And what I find with many young Muslims, they would say, "Look, I know this is haram.
Mm.
You can only be married to a person of the opposite gender. But what's so bad if two people of the same gender love one another? They want to have a family together. Why are we infringing on their rights?" And it's having this
Mm.
conversation that when a Muslim leaves that workshop, they would understand. Okay, now I understand where the Sharia is coming from, and I would appreciate the guidance of the Sharia. You would also begin to understand moral frameworks. And
Mm.
this is the biggest, one of the big challenges we're facing now. This is just one issue of our morality versus the prevailing morality of the world today, the Western morality, or
Yeah.
secularism. And
Mm.
today it's homosexuality. Tomorrow it might be incest. It might be something else as we go down there, and Allah protect us. And so when it comes down to morality, you need to have your framework intact and understand where it's coming from. I think that's what we want to take away from this course, inshallah. And then there's specific questions about, I have a colleague that has this is inclined in this way. Can I still engage, and we work together in the same space? As a teacher, if your one of your students has specific pronouns, what do you do when you need to address the person? Is it haram for me to call a male she, because that's what is required? What about Muslims who have feelings? Am I allowed to be a Muslim and I still have attractions? Have we created safe spaces for people struggling with a type of addiction? And so that is covered in this workshop, inshallah.
Mm. Very interesting, Sheikh. Very interesting views. Um, if I had to put on the sort of the hat of a lay person, a lay Muslim, person in the community, I I'd like to question, should this be discussed in sort of in the public domain? Is this a topic that should be addressed from the the mimbars of masajid, sort of from public settings, workshops, courses? Does this topic belong in that space?
Yeah, so the topic is, of course, controversial, and it is a sensitive issue. And we don't, our Islamic morality is we don't speak very publicly about things that are meant to be private.
Mm.
And we also don't look to create controversy. So there is a wisdom within Islam that you don't spread controversy if it's not needed. However, when the controversy is out in the open, I mean, in June there was a big issue with a very famous retailer. You walk into the store and you see the colors and the flags. So the conversation is happening, and whether we as adults or imams feel we should not talk about it, our kids are talking about it. Our kids are asking these questions online or in school or wherever it is. And if they're not getting guidance from their teachers, their muallims, their imams, their parents, where are they going to get their guidance? And these are the formative years. I mean, your teenage years is when you almost make up your mind. Your models gets plugged in. So we have to be part of the conversation. And also from a just from an Islamic perspective, the story of Nabi Lut is across the Quran. So Allah raises it, and Allah mentions very clearly what they did as their sin. So we shouldn't be shy where Allah Subhanahu wa Taala has made certain matters clear, and out of necessity, I would say, I don't even think it's an option. We must take control of the narrative. It's being taught to your kids in the social sciences. It's being discussed amongst their friends. We must have the Islamic view placed in front of them, and of course share our morality with them.
Interesting. Jazakallah khairan for that, Sheikh. Maybe this is a somewhat of a strange question to pose, but for framing purposes, would you say that a liberal stance is being taken by Muslims with regards to these issues? I'm referring to maybe scholars or Muslims within South Africa. Is the stance too liberal, or do you even think that there's some form of indirect promotion of LGBTQ ideology?
Now, I would say by and large, the Muslim scholars, the scholarship here in South Africa, I can speak for. I mean, I can't speak globally, each country specifically. We have been silent. We haven't found a response. We're too scared to say something because would this fall in the ambit of, controversial speech, hate speech? We also don't know how to address it. Um, so there will almost be a very simplistic fatwa to say it's haram and we shouldn't engage with it, and that's it, and don't talk about it. But unfortunately, that's not cutting it with our kids. Our kids want to know why. They're questioning. They're not going to just accept. You said it's haram, or even the Quran said it's haram, but why? So there is if I'm going to speak from the MJC's perspective as well, there's a need for us to have this dialogue and take control of the conversation, at least within our masajid. Our masjids are safe places. Our homes, our madaris are safe places. We can teach our morality freely. So we need to make this an agenda, and I think it's a consensus amongst the scholars. We haven't spoken about it enough and
Yeah.
shared our viewpoint, made it clear without offending anyone, without promoting violence or hatred. We do this very clearly when it comes to alcohol. Now, we say we're against alcohol, we're against gambling, without us burning down the bars or hurting anybody. But our kids know what our stance is and why it is. Why in this issue can't we do the same thing? And that's the problem. That's what we need to do.
Very interesting, valid points that you have shared there, Sheikh. You've touched on this a little earlier, and perhaps I just want us to explicate the point. Sheikh, you're referring to talking about this in safe spaces for us as Muslims, in our masajid, in our homes, in our madaris, maktabs, and so forth. Would you say that it could amount to a form of hate speech, or that we could be spreading hatred? Do you think that is prevailing or could prevail?
So the first time I actually gave this lecture was when there was a social media like uproar and people were discussing this, and someone was openly, sharing hate speech in the name of Islam. People should be harmed and should be abused. They shouldn't be allowed in school and those kind of things, and that goes against what Islam says. And so you get the extreme on the one side where we're completely liberal and we said, anyone can do anything and everything, whatever feels good, and then you have hate speech, discrimination, violence. Islam doesn't allow for that. Islam sets your models. Islam tells you what you should do and shouldn't do. And if someone sort of goes beyond that, it's we of course don't subscribe to harming anybody, and so we obviously make sure that we're within the parameters of what is acceptable speech.
Sheikh, you still with me?
Yeah, Sheikh, I can hear
Yes,
you.
yes. Okay, yeah. I think I just had a bit of a lag there. Sheikh, so so coming to these programs that are going to be offered, I mean, your planned itinerary for Gqeberha has a workshop entitled "Guiding Our Children." Tell us about this workshop. Who's the target audience, and what will the workshop explore?
So we obviously want to make sure that we have enough of our young men and women that attend. So I would say the ideal crowd is going to be your teenagers and above, but it's open to others as well, parents as well. So don't feel like, if I'm in my 30s or so, I'm too old to attend. You're not too old to attend, but we definitely want our youth to attend, and it's to again address the issues that are relevant to them, the things that they maybe haven't been able to discuss and explore within their networks. We do it within an Islamic environment, and we're going to look at the challenges that is on the horizon. Every nation or every age, every generation has their issues and challenges that they need to face. And Alhamdulillah, Allah has given us each generation the ability to solve those things. So we need to take it head on, and we need to make the right decisions and deal with the challenges ahead of us. And so that's sort of the flavor of the discussion. Again, most of our lectures are conversations. It's not a bayan in the sense of one way talking. I'd like to hear from what is relevant in Gqeberha. What are the issues on the ground, and we talk about it. And of course, we take it from there.
Okay, inshallah, inshallah. So Sheikh, these points that will be shared, this is usually a common argument that is made in the spaces, that when one says that I feel this way, or I identify in this manner, or this is my orientation. So one of the points that we often hear, and what we even from in the Muslim community, is some saying that this is my human right to do so. So, in terms of the offering of these courses, would you, and these talks, these workshops, would you say that this falls within the ambit of Muslims saying, well, it's within their human right to have these conversations?
Yeah, it's amazing how the dialogue has changed over the last couple of decades, and it's something to think about. I mean, when we grow up, or our parents grew up, the discussion was, people of a certain orientation should be allowed to attend public spaces, or allowed to get married, or they're allowed to coexist. Today, it's the other way around. It's almost to say, I'm not trying to ban your parade, but can I opt out of your parade? I'm not saying that your flag must be taken down, but am I being discriminated for not putting the flag up? Are we as Muslims being discriminated by saying, look, this is what marriage is, this are the rules in terms of intimacy? If I'm going are we Alhamdulillah, we're not at that level in South Africa where you're criminalized for saying what is, the Muslim standpoint. But in other parts of the world, you might be criminalized to simply say that, Islam stands for these things. And if we don't get involved in these conversations, and I think this is beyond just our youth, this is where our teachers, our politicians, our academics need to get involved and say, we need to be part of the dialogue, because a time might come, and Allah protect, where even speaking in the masjid, the story of Nabi Lut might be seen as hate speech. We don't want to get to that level. And so these are proactive steps. And we need to preserve our models, our views, and alhamdulillah, we have the opportunity to express our views, so long as we don't call to any kind of violence or harm to others. And then we fine, inshallah.
Inshallah, Jazakallah khairan. Sheikh, I'm trying to put on different hats, as I engage with you. Let's say, I'm a parent, or as a parent or an adult, you feel that your child doesn't show any signs of this, or they're not inclined towards this, or you feel as an adult, as a parent, you have a very stable Islamic home. Is it necessary for me to attend this?
So remember, in the story of Nabi Lut, his own household was impacted as well. And there's maybe there's a lesson in that for us, that no, when a society is so it's so pervasive at a certain moral issue, it's impacting every house. Your house, my household, is impacted in some way or another. Our kids know about it, have heard about it, and we don't know to what extent it will impact them. Remember, we need to prepare our kids for the time when they almost leave home and make their own way, when they are in an environment where their morals are going to be challenged. And we see this as, and Sheikh Mukhtar can also maybe attest to this. We see this where Muslim kids who grew up in very stable households, they went to Muslim schools, the minute they maybe go to varsity or they engage with someone outside that Muslim environment, and they are asked very difficult questions, they don't know how to defend themselves, and they might lose more than just their morals, they might lose their Islam altogether. And so this is education. It's all about educating yourself and getting closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think every single parent needs to be there. Because if you don't feel safe having this conversation with ulama in a masjid, then when are you going to have this conversation? And you can't avoid it. It's going to be in every program now, even in the shops it's there. So it's there. We can't avoid it anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, okay. Sheikh, Jazakallah khairan for that. Um, let's reflect a little bit on people that we have in our community, in the Muslim communities. And so I'm speaking now from as an imam of the community here. I've had young Muslims, who came up to me and told me that, Sheikh, I feel this way. I have these feelings. And so and individuals that are identifying in this manner, of course, as Muslim leaders, community leaders, it's very important that we don't ostracize them, that there's a safe space for them. Would this be a space for them to enter as well? I mean, realistically speaking,
So
this
definitely
this
we
workshop
welcome
around these thoughts.
people with those feelings. I think we'll have to have a follow-up session, a more specific section to if you're dealing with a specific problem, then that is going to be, you need to address it with your imam or with an imam one-on-one. But definitely the question that's part of the discussion is, I'm a Muslim, I have feelings that I can't turn off. Am I sort of cut off from Allah? Am I allowed to enter the masjid? When does it become a sin? If I am even living in that, so Sheikh, I've got these feelings, I'm weak, I'm acting on these desires, I know it's haram, do I still have Allah's mercy? There's a conversation for that as well. And as we know, we all struggle with emotions and feelings or desires that are not in line with the Sharia. That is the challenge of life. And how many of us give into those desires? And we understand this when it comes to maybe drug addiction or adultery. We say, come to the Imam, come to the masjid, return to Allah. We make it welcoming you to get to the path of Tawbah. But this group of people, if we are honest with ourselves, we almost feel like you are so bad you can't even attend the masjid. And I think that is a problem. If people can't find comfort, they can't find guidance in the masjid when he wants guidance. So, but that's a specific conversation, I think, that will come from this topic.
Okay, inshallah, inshallah. Sheikh, a major point of concern is our children. I mean, the workshop
Sure.
is entitled Guiding Our Children. What would you say is the greatest danger that they face? I'm referring to Muslim children in the society that we find ourselves in today.
SubhanAllah, it's a big question, and I think there's not one answer that it's something that we can opine together. What I found as a challenge with young people, they are exposed to everything. No generation of people have been so exposed to different kinds of ideologies, accessibility to haram. Someone was mentioning that, as great as Fir'aun was, he couldn't by click of a button see countless naked women, all kinds of fahsha. This is now, really front and center, in the lives of our kids, and who knows how this is going to continue going to the future. Avoiding the sin, hiding in the cave, or sort of putting your head in the sand, that option is almost, we don't have that alternative anymore. So now we have to prepare our kids to make the right choices. And how do you make, I mean, in your 15, 16-year old, who makes the right choices at that age? And how do we imprint on them the morals that will guide them to say no to all kinds of temptations? I don't think we've prepared our kids, our madaris, our masajid, haven't been equipped to deal with this before. I don't think any generation was faced with this. So I think it comes back to our parents, our teachers, our ulama, to devise a way of educating our kids so that when they are, in this big, dangerous world, they are firm on their morals. They're confident in what they believe in. They know why Islam needs to make sense to you. At this point in time, I think every Muslim must be able to almost rediscover his Islam. Not just because I was born a Muslim. You must know why you're a Muslim. Why does the Islamic theology make sense? Is the Quran really from Allah? Does this moral framework, is this the best moral framework? And if you haven't, tested that, when you are tested, that's where you find the problems. And I found that as a big problem in my personal experience. I don't know, Sheikh, maybe you can also answer and contribute to that question. What is your biggest concern?
Oh, Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh. I've never had in an interview the question that, turned back to me.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, Sheikh, I think from my perspective, one of the major concerns is the innocence that our children have entering these spaces, and the I would even use the term ignorance that parents have pushing our kids into these spaces, whichever spaces they might be. And this implicit harm that is continuously occurring, for me, and you've touched on this point as well in your response, Sheikh, that because we are all such great consumers of media, I mean, across the board, our devices, TVs, whatever it might be, I mean, it is absolutely strange to find any human being or Muslim without a device. And one can't filter what comes through via that device. It's very, very difficult to filter that. And so for me, this is one of my major concerns, that our children are in this world, at schools, facing curricula, facing, society, facing educational systems, and there's just no way of filtering this. And it's like a parent has to check daily, on what is your position, what have you accessed, where are you going. I think parents maybe 20 years ago had it a little bit easier in just that they had to physically know where their child was, and today it's not only physical but digital, theological, ideological. All of these points come up. So I think that's a concern for me. Sheikh, we have about 2 minutes left for this very brief check-in. I think I'm very excited now for your coming, inshallah. Sheikh, you made me make you tea. This is an inside point I'm sharing in Medina. Beloved viewers and listeners, Shaykh Muhammad West let me make tea, and he had very flattering language, Shaykh Muhammad, the tea is so nice, and all these things, So Shaykh, I'm looking forward to making a tea for you again, inshallah. That's what I want to share. And maybe you've gained a skill, maybe you can share some tea with me, I don't know, you can update me on that as well, inshallah. Shaykh Muhammad West is coming to PE, to Gqeberha, to GQ, you'll be here for Friday and Saturday, inshallah, in the city. So just to give everyone an overview of the programs, on Friday at 10 a.m., Friday, that is the 4th of August, Shaykh Muhammad West will be on IFM. They are interviewing him, inshallah, at 10 a.m. on IFM. Then the Jumu'ah, he will be, of course, at Masjidut Taqwa. Alhamdulillah, we are hosting him for the Jumu'ah. Shaykh Muhammad West, we have PowerPoints now, eh? I must mention this for the audience. Shaykh Muhammad West, Burhanul Islam Masjid, has been like a leader in this technology and approach for decades. And Masjidut Taqwa only introduced it, I think, with Ramadan. And it was something to get used to for many, but we've received, hundreds are downloading our slides and
Alhamdulillah.
engaging. And so I'm just alerting Sheikh Muhammad that this is also now at Masjid Taqwa. So Sheikh Muhammad will be there for Jumu'ah. And then the afternoon, Friday afternoon, the 4th of August at 4:15 p.m., which is immediately after the Asr Salah, Sheikh Muhammad will be having a program with 18 plus olds. So that is really the college student, the university student, the hifz school student, the alima student, and so forth. All of those in that age category can join us for an hour. Inshallah, the masjid will be giving you. On the Saturday is the workshop. That's the main program occurring Saturday morning. You can purchase your tickets for that from the masjid's website. And then the final program will be the Saturday afternoon, and that is at, I think, 2 p.m. till 4 p.m. And that is a program with high school learners. So, mashallah, I saw an update, Sheikh. I saw the registration list. The numbers are climbing quite beautifully.
Alhamdulillah.
So the high school learners, you can register your child to attend. It's going to be a lovely interactive program for high school kids, the high school learners. That's the Saturday afternoon, 2 till 4. And I'm actually serving them with force rolls and cool drink, inshallah. So just to the parents, I mean, if you want a weekend that is sort of meal free, you don't have to cook anything. Send your kids to us, inshallah, the weekend. We will be having them there the afternoon, the Friday afternoon, and of course the Saturday afternoon. Shaykh Muhammad West, Jazakallah khairan for making the time to join me for this very brief conversation. We are looking forward to it, inshallah. Any closing thoughts before we leave you?
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Really appreciate the invitation. I'm excited to be there. I'm excited to meet with the Muslims, brothers and sisters of Port Elizabeth. And I think having run this program now in Durban, Joburg, Cape Town, the feedback has always been, alhamdulillah, overwhelmingly positive.
Alhamdulillah.
We've got as I said, the backing of the Muslim Judicial Council. It's going to be informative, enjoyable, and yes. The people coming together, having the social side of it, I'm looking forward to that as well. So Jazakallah khair, I'm excited.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh. We're looking forward to it. Just a closing point, which I actually never asked you. There are many people who say, no, they are too old for this, the Obalis, do you think they should be attending the programs?
I think everyone should be attending. There might be a age limit in terms of maybe younger kids, maybe younger than 12 or 13, maybe. Although you'd be surprised what's in cartoons. But it's interesting having people of different perspectives and having maybe someone in their 60s, 70s, and say, when we grew up, it was like this, and then you would be able to relate to your grandson who says, but Opa, this is what I'm dealing with. You would be shocked to understand what your kids are dealing with. And how we can support each other. Ultimately, we are one body, one family, and what we want for each other is goodness. So come there, bring your grandparents as well. The grandkids bring the grandparents, or vice versa. Grandparents bring the grandkids, and inshallah, it will be a wonderful experience for all of us.
Inshallah. Sheikh, Jazakallah khairan. We love you for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we look forward to hosting you in the friendly city of Gqeberha, Nelson Mandela Bay. Jazakallah khairan. في أمان الله, and we will see Sheikh in the next few days, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. That was Shaykh Muhammad West, the Imam of Burhanul Islam Masjid, the senior member of the Muslim Judicial Council, and Shaykh Muhammad West will be coming to the city on the 4th and the 5th, inshallah. He'll be in Nelson Mandela Bay offering a few programs. Please visit Masjidut Taqwa's website for more details. Sign up, register your kids, sign up for our workshop, inshallah. I promise you it is something that will definitely be very beneficial and informative. Jazakallah khairan for joining us this afternoon. Fi amanillah, may you be in Allah's protection. And until we speak again, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.